Teachers of Reddit, what was your "oh fuck that's impressive but I still have to punish the kid" moment? First 6 months of teaching. Grade 8 English. Kid did a 360 on one leg of his chair. I was impressed but gave him a timeout because it was dangerous. Part of the requirement for timeout was that students identify what got them sent out in the first place. I did a mad 360 on my chair but Miss said it wasn't safe. I've still got that timeout sheet on my desk 2.5 years later. Yes, Ethan, it was a mad 360. But it was still dangerous. I can't remember the question that was asked of my niece, about 6 at the time, but she stood up in the class and said Sister Bernadette's a bitch, sister as in a nun. The teacher told my sister, normal sister, not a nun, that whilst she couldn't condone the behavior, Sister Bernadette was in fact a total bitch. They had a good laugh about it. My real sister told our sister Mildred that she was a bitch. She also hit her back when she got slapped. My sister was such a Bachelor of Arts. Not me, but my mom had to punish a kid who hacked into his teacher's email as an April Fool's pranks and told all of her students to bring a jar of peanut butter to class the next day. Apparently, a bunch of these kids didn't even have peanut butter in their house and had to go and buy it. My mom was very reluctant to punish him, but parents were so furious that she ended up giving him a few detentions. I know that she made sure to tell him how funny she thought the whole thing was, however. Not a teacher, but I work in IT in a big school. Guy came in asking us if we could put his PDFs in the right order. It was a bunch of comic book artwork that was part of his A-level art project. So we slotted all the pages into a nice PDF and he promptly went off and printed several hundred copies to sell to his mates. We pulled him as he was by far the biggest print user for the day and he got some shit for it. Last I heard of him, he was demoing his comics at a festival in Germany and doing rather well. The first time I caught students cheating, it was 2 8th grade girls that had all of the same wrong answers on a vocabulary matching test. I pulled the girls aside after class to ask about it, and after some sheepish grins they both admitted that a third girl, their friend who was an AN student, had fed them both incorrect answers on purpose. She screwed over her friends because she was pissed they were mooching. For punishment, the first 2 girls got to keep their very poor test grades. The mastermind got "your friends are mad at you" as her punishment. Natural consequences. I had a girl tap me on the shoulder and tell me that I had gotten a question wrong. It should be C, photosynthesis. So I flip back, and I look at the test, and I have B, photosynthesis. We had different forms of the test. I said thanks for catching that. She copied all of my other answers and it didn't go well for her. I had a classmate jump on the teacher's computer and visit a website that would go full screen and make it seem like it was a Mac now instead of a PC. It was April's Fool's Day and this was his prank. This was in like 2003, so security wasn't the conversation it is today. Anyway, he still got in trouble. The teacher got really angry and kind of yelled at him to sit down in the corner. She called in the vice principal, then the principal, then the on-campus police office, and then when he was good and terrified, all 4 turned to him and said April Fools and let him off the hook. He got his punishment though. He was terrified. Kid in one of my classes visited a prostitute's Facebook profile on the teacher's computer. When confronted he said, "What? She wants to be my friend." Of course, the teacher had to report the whole incident so as to protect himself and he honestly just looked disappointed. My husband used to work in after-school care. One time he saw 2 kids starting to fight in the sandpit. He headed over to try to calm them down, but while he was on his way, one kid ran at the other, who just calmly flipped the first kid over his head like a textbook martial arts move. My husband said he had to stop himself from shouting "Wow! Great job!" Fellow fat kid. Got bullied a lot. My dad always told me never hit back. You're bigger, so they'll always assume it's your fault if you hit back. I played football and wrestled and could take care of myself for the most part. Well, freshman year of HS I had this kid who was like half my size stealing shit from me. I demanded it back. Basically said I was giving him the chance to give it back before I told on him. We were across a table from each other and he started calling me a pussy and whatever. I just kept demanding my stuff back. He said, "Say that one more time and I'll hit you." I did. He did. Then he jumped on the table and popped me again. I still haven't touched him. Then, he jumps at me and I move out of the way, causing him to fall face first on the tile floor. I tell him to fuck off and turn around. He pops me twice in the back of the head before he's grabbed by a teacher. We both got suspended for 3 days. The normal principal, who liked me, was gone and we dealt with his assistant. She didn't even talk to the teacher that witnessed it. Just automatic suspension for fighting. After the fact, I'm explaining what happened to my dad and he's just as perplexed as I am. Then he said, "You know what? If a kid like that is picking on you and you're gonna get suspended anyway, screw it. Knock his ass into next week." Accidentally did something like that in high school once. I'm bad at sports, like, bad, but this one time we were playing soccer and I happened to kick the ball at the same time as a big buff jock type guy. I swear to God, and it sounds like something out of a cartoon or something, but my foot and the ball apparently worked as a perfect wedge that sent him into a full-on front flip and landed on his ass. We both just stood there shocked for a moment, then laughed like idiots. It was like for a split second we wandered into the realm of wacky physics. Yet I remember there was one time when I was an educator at outside school care where a violent third-grade boy started kicking and punching a first-grade girl. I'm running over, and before anyone else knows it, this little girl spins around this little shit's arm and puts him in an arm hold. Pain compliance hold? I don't know the term. The little shit goes crazy trying to kick her, but I grabbed him and moved him away, and turned to the girl. She thought she was in trouble, though I was nothing but complimenting and reassurance she did the right thing. Man, I don't miss that school. My uncle taught his son, and me, how to fight at a young age, probably BC he himself had been a bit of a bully and didn't want us to fall prey to people like him, lol. In middle school, some guy tried to attack my cousin by charging at him. My cousin used a move that essentially worked the kid's momentum against him, which resulted in the kid having his face smashed into a bus. The school tried to suspend my cousin for fighting, but my uncle pointed out that 1, my cousin couldn't have even used the move if the kid hadn't been charging him, and 2, no family of his would allow another person to lay hands on them without trying to stop them. This was back before my school days, where zero tolerance policies came into place, so the school let it slide. Back in the day my friend found an exploit in the school laptops that allowed him administrator access. It was pretty clever. He brought it up to IT. Problem was it was very obscure and no one would have been looking for such an exploit unless they wanted to bypass the school's security. So he got suspended. This is why it is important for companies to pay bounties for found exploits. Not paying bounties, or, even worse, prosecuting white-hat hackers creates a perverse incentive for people not to report exploits or to even sell them to people who might cause harm. Reminded me of an old coworker who found an exploit to give him an extra $20 per withdrawal. He eventually got caught and was facing charges, but he told them arresting him wouldn't change the fact it is still an issue and that he can show them how to fix it if they drop the charges. I did the same thing in school, except that I didn't report it to IT. I used the admin privs to install Quake 2 onto the library computers. And we would set up LAN games there when other kids were in the library computer lab. I told everyone how to Alt+Tab. Was good fun. But we did get caught, and we were banned from using the library computers unsupervised. Loaded it on other computers in the school using the same exploit. Was great. I remember when I did phone tech support for a certain fruit-branded computer company. I had configured a mail rule to forward all my emails, but I accidentally added my own email to the forwarder. So if I got an email, it would get forwarded to me, which would get forwarded to me again, rinse and repeat. I nearly brought down the whole email server. I met my then boyfriend for dinner and he was still laughing because that day he'd had to resurrect the email server due to a guy returning to work from vacation but failing to disable his out-of-office auto-reply. This wouldn't have been a problem except that he emailed someone else who was still away and the auto-replies bounced back and forth till the server went down in flames. Haha, my school used self-service too, it was only a few years ago. I also found out a way to bypass it and use the App Store. I decided not to tell anyone and just downloaded all the games I wanted onto my iPad. A student in one of the schools I work at had as close to a full-service bar and smoke shop set up in a couple of lockers as you can get. The lockers were located in a corner of the hallway that is easily obscured and difficult to monitor. The kid just slapped his own locks on there and nobody noticed. When he was caught, the lockers were found to have several makeshift shelves in them, and contained several bottles of hard liquor, some solo cups, and paper shot glasses in one of them. The other contained a backpack containing some weed and various other drug paraphernalia for sale. The kid had quite the little enterprise going and God knows how much money he made before he got caught. I was shown pictures of what was in the locker, and I had to admit, given what he had to work with, it was quite an impressive setup. Of course, I'm sure he was brought up on a significant number of charges, but still, even the principal had to give him credit for the setup. That kid's going places. Probably jail, but I hope he managed to stay out of it long enough to apply those business skills in a meaningful way. Oh, definitely jail. Weed still isn't legal here, and this happened before it was legal for recreational use anywhere. Even if this were in a state where recreational weed is legal now, he still had enough stuff on him to put him away for a good long time. Possession, distribution in a school setting, the quantity of stuff he had on him, the charges related to the alcohol, the list goes on. I know he was in his mid-teens. I'd be willing to bet that the best he could hope for was being charged as a juvenile and being released when he hit 18. But if they charged him as an adult, it's very possible that the kid could still be in jail. But we all did say the same thing. If he gets out and is given an opportunity to apply those skills to a legal business, he's going to make bank. I wish I were better at describing his setup, because it was a sight to behold. Yeah, unfortunately he broke the #1 biggest rule for selling drugs multiple times over. Never break 2 laws at once. When I sold, at this time in my state, weed was even only a misdemeanor. ID check all my lights before leaving, never speed, never bring anything that's a felony across town. I can tell you my late 90s scheme in school. Never got even close to caught. We'd buy sheets of acid, then split them up into single hits. Then I'd buy the value packs of 10 packs of Trident gum. You'd be able to disassemble the packs, put 1 hit into each small piece of gum and rewrap them. Then put the entire pack together like it was brand new. Then we'd sell single hits for $7, or an entire 10 strip for $60. Would just seem like you were giving out pieces of gum to your friends in class. Some friends I'd be generous to give an entire pack to. Meanwhile, at least 15 to 20 high school kids were tripping on acid every day. I can't imagine wanting to do acid at school, much less doing it and not getting caught. It's not a subtle drug. Also, time elongation at school plus the bad vibes of fear of being caught are a recipe for disaster. Not a teacher, but teacher adjacent, I was on recess duty with a bunch of 7 to 9-year-olds one day, and this kid ran up to me to point out a couple of other kids fighting. I turn around, and yep, looked like a fight. As I went over there, a couple things stood out. The 2 fighting were besties, so it was weird that they were fighting, and they were making sound effects. Dudes were playing out some epic Star Wars battle, complete with stick sabers and the blaster noises and everything. Their stunt coordination was on point, y'all. I had to make them put down the sticks and holster their finger guns. By the rules, I should have sent them to the principal to be suspended for the finger guns, but that's ridiculous for consensual play acting, so no, but commended them on how real it all looked. Glad you took a sensible stance on the finger guns. Suspension for that is draconian. That reminds me of the kid who was either expelled or suspended for biting his Pop-Tart in the shape of a gun. I teach a tech certification class here for a local nonprofit. Just a week or so ago I was walking the students through using Task Scheduler in Windows when my phone started to blow up with emails. Turns out one of the students created a dozen scheduled tasks to send me an email every 5 minutes. Title: Cats 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 Cats. Body: Cats 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 Cats. You get the picture. Needless to say, his punishment came in the form of a scheduled task running as a service on his PC that randomly ejects the optical drive at different intervals. He has not figured out why this is happening yet, and it's forcing him to learn how to troubleshoot an issue, so I see it as a win. Edit: this blew up. I want to let everyone know I would love to engage/talk about this, but it'll be a while as I am moving to a new condo today, so I'll get around to responding when I'm able. Thanks for all of this though. Eases my anxiety. God, that reminds me of back in the day when we had to take computer literacy in middle school, in the dark ages of the late 80s. We had a student teacher who was observing/helping in that class, and one of the things she had to teach us was how to do code in BASIC. Yeah, that's how old I am. I would write all kinds of crazy programs to leave her insane messages after class was over. Fortunately, she thought it was funny and not offensive, although the most offensive thing I probably coded it to say was "cow farts smell like sulfur candles." I'm so jealous of that, though. Our computer literacy courses in middle school in 2004 was all about writing a proper bibliography and using Microsoft Word. All of my arguments are on Facebook, where posting a source means that you're lost. Nobody uses MLA format. We use MMA format, where we try to beat the snot out of each other, and whoever wins the fight is declared a violent brute who shouldn't be trusted, and whoever loses is declared a candy-ass baby who can't win fights. I wish we'd have been exposed to programming as a viable career path earlier. I wrote rudimentary calculator programs on my TI-83 in high school, but when I tried to go deeper, I got lost quickly and I declared that computer science was too complicated. I've since changed that viewpoint and become a full-stack web developer, but there's so much that I don't know. I really wish I'd gotten a great start when I was a kid in middle school. That would have been a great leg up. I remember the computers at my school were named in a specific way. A prefix, the room number, and the computer number formatted somehow I don't fully remember. There was a command for shutting down a computer remotely with a timer and a message. I would make the other kids do the chicken dance to get me to abort. If they didn't believe it, I would send another message that I was watching them. It was hilarious seeing them reluctantly do it. I never bragged or told anyone about it until now. It was my own little prank. I had a kid who bullied me in my C++ class. I knew he'd goof off for a while and try to do his work and submit it right at the end of the class. So I would ping bomb him and make his computer shut off 5 minutes before class ended. He'd throw a fit because he hadn't saved and he was rushing to finish. Good memories. Don't fuck with nerds. Something like that happened at a company I worked at a couple years ago. There was a new intern who decided to send out an inspirational quote, which included a typo, to everyone, and I mean everyone on the company address book, including president, CEO, board members, and, you probably guessed it, 7 or 8 different automated help desk email accounts. The help desks replied back and forth to the entire address book until the servers shut down. My boss had to come tell me to calm down because the intern heard me howling with laughter from across the office and it was making him sad, haha. I was a student in class at the time, but we had this kid named Michael. and for whatever reason some of the other kids called him Mickle, pronounced like pickle. In music class, a room designed for sounds to travel, a kid passed a note to him that said, "I'll give you a nickel if you tickle my pickle Mickle." And the music teacher snatched it and read it aloud. I don't think she realized what she read till it was too late, but I could tell she was holding in a giggle. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment Reddit Story Time for more Reddit stories.